Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku was brave enough for love part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story 𝗧𝗵𝗲 from fanfiction. So let's start the video. In a secret, discreet location somewhere in the island nation of Japan, a secret laboratory still stands despite what had recently transpired about a decade ago when the nation was under its most recent crisis of hero and villain activity. But with the likes of Japan's criminal overlord, 𝗓𝗋, and the League dissolved, one may wonder whose laboratory this even is. It is an overlooked laboratory of the League of Villains' mad scientist, Dr. Garaki, the closest of all for one's worshippers and right-hand man. Amidst all the rebuilding Japan went through following the end of the war, the evil scientist had somehow managed to escape from confinement and went into hiding. The villainous madman was currently reading a newspaper from the comfort of his lab chair, growling at each mention of the name 𝗧𝗵𝗲. The headline on the first page was a collab picture of the likes of Class 1A graduates and the youthful heroes that participated in the battle against 𝗓𝗋, and the title read, "New Heroes Soaring in Popularity Polls. Deku takes first on newest poll." A vein bulged atop his bald head, anger bubbling over, before he completely tore apart and tossed aside the paper. He threw it in a spot where other newspapers he read met the same fate. He then turned to his table and slammed it with both hands, letting out an enraged shout. "Damn it! Damn it! Damn it!" he roared. "How could things have turned out like this? Is fate just mocking me at this point? All the efforts of my master and the League, undone like that." Feeling his blood pressure rising, Garaki soon clutched his chest and began letting out long, exasperated pants in an attempt to calm down. But one moment of his life had been constantly replaying itself in his mind. "Sorry, kid. It's not gonna happen." The moment was when he was still playing his role as the chairman of the Ochaco hospital board. He diagnosed the 4-year-old 𝗧𝗵𝗲 as being unable to manifest a quirk of his own. Though this moment had originally been routine for him, it was a crushing blow to the child's self-esteem. And yet, as if karma had finally come back to bite him, it was this same boy that was able to defeat 𝗓𝗋 and led him to his death. Since having heard about what happened while he was imprisoned, Izuku had become the deeply rooted source of Garaki's hatred and rage. Each time this memory returned, his anger couldn't help but spike. "If only I knew what would have followed. I would have begged 𝗓𝗋 to make that twerp his new vessel. Not that ungrateful little traitor, Shigaraki. But how was I supposed to expect him to meet All Might of all people?" he shouted, clutching his head. Near the mad doctor, a large pod full of fluid reflected his expression off its glass. Inside was a shadowy creature, human in build with long white hair and flickers of black embers radiating off it, floating in suspended animation. The creature inside brought a sickening smile to Garaki's face. Setting aside his anger, the doctor approached and pressed his hand against the glass while eyeing the creature. "But soon, we'll bring about not just the complete annihilation of that brat Deku, but the entire world will be under our thumb." He satanically laughed. "Your dreams will not be on deaf ears, master. And all the efforts I wasted on the League of Villains will be put to better use." From inside the pod, the creature's eyes began to slowly open, showing bright red pupils looking back. "My hero, New Age of Heroes. Part 01. Another normal day for Midoriya. Mizutofu, Japan. At the same time, under the sunny skies above, a large car pileup was reported due to the sudden lost control of a person's quirk and was now causing chaos for those at the site. Several passengers were still trapped in their cars, either because of the wreckage or fear of getting out and escaping the rampant quirk user. The quirk user was shown to be a colossal 4-armed giant that lost control of himself due to the traffic. Several police officers were working to rescue the trapped victims while another squad attempted to stall the suspect. Suddenly, he erupted into a vicious roar and grabbed a car with each of its massive hands, lobbing them directly for the police. "Move!" an officer yelled, his squad successfully avoiding the flying cars as they crashed and smashed to the ground. Just then, the giant roared and grabbed onto a nearby school bus with students, and the bus driver still inside. They all screamed in terror as the bus was lifted into the air, suspended above his head. But as he prepared to throw it, A lone figure came racing onto the scene and leapt straight for the giant. Decorated in his mechanized battlesuit and flowing yellow cape, 𝗧𝗍𝗧 drew back his left hand with fist clenched tight. "Detroit smash!" he exclaimed, slugging the giant's face. The blow was strong enough to cause the giant to fumble its grip of the bus, dropping it on its side in the process, before stumbling backwards. At the same time, another hero arrived on the scene and used her quirk to remove the gravity of the entire bus. It slowly rotated amidst the zero gravity before landing on its tires, the hero responsible being Ochaco. She hurried over as the driver opened the door, and the students began hurrying out. "Whoa. Whoa. Everybody calm down. Is anybody hurt?" Ochaco asked, watching them rush past. The driver came rushing out as well, nearly fumbling over his own 2 feet as Ochaco caught him. He let out a relieved sigh. Thank you so much. Don't worry. I'll keep an eye on the kids," he stuttered with a shaking body. Ochaco nodded. "Okay, thanks," she said before letting him go. At the same time, 𝗧𝗍𝗧 was still going at it with the 4-armed giant. Each time the monstrous brute threw a punch at him, the hero was able to quickly avoid or jump over his giant arms. After another failed attack, 𝗧𝗍𝗧 came at him with a roundhouse kick to his face. "Deku, you need any help?" Ochaco called. 𝗧𝗍𝗧 paused for a moment to look back to Ochaco, flashing a thumbs up. "It's okay, 𝗬𝗲𝗿𝗺𝗺. I got this. Please help the officers with those still trapped," he called. She nodded with a confident smile. He turned back as the giant charged for him, overcome with anger. He threw another colossal fist at him, but 𝗧𝗍𝗧 used this chance to stop and lock onto his arm, halting his movement. "See, calm down. You're not in control of yourself," 𝗧𝗍𝗧 exclaimed. "If you can hear me, then stand down." The monster growled more until it eventually broke 𝗧𝗍𝗧's grip and sent him flying into the air. Ochaco saw him and gasped. "Deku," she shouted. But out of nowhere, 𝗧𝗍𝗧's arm was quickly snagged by a long strand of sticky tape, shot from the ground below by the arrival of 𝗧𝗏. He pulled 𝗧𝗍𝗧 back towards the ground before he was caught by Shoji, standing alongside 𝗧𝗏. "Are you okay?" Shoji asked. "We just arrived ourselves." 𝗧𝗍𝗧 groaned, thanking his friends before he was set down on his feet. He looked back at the giant still glaring at him, letting out a snarl. "Something tells me he's not in the mood to talk things out, 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗧." 𝗧𝗏 commented, "We might have to overpower or subdue him before he gets out of control." Just then, a series of explosions was heard overhead before another hero burst onto the scene. Once close enough, he unleashed a massive explosion straight at the giant, causing him to fumble backwards. Landing soon after was 𝗧𝗍𝗧's childhood friend and rival, 𝗵𝗃𝗲, decked in his hero attire. "𝐒𝐻𝐿-𝐾𝐿," 𝗧𝗍𝗧 called. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 glared over his shoulder and groaned. "Damn it, Deku. How hard is it for you to use my hero name? Call me Dynamite when we're working, you damn nerd," he exclaimed. From behind, the giant let out another roar and lunged for 𝗵𝗃𝗲 with arms drawn back. But he quickly turned back while his hand emitted a bright red flash, readying another massive explosive attack. "Go to sleep, you damn idiot," he roared, unleashing another massive blast at point-blank range. The blast was enough to send a big shockwave across the landscape, the others bracing themselves in the process. 𝗵𝗃𝗲's attack had knocked the giant out, its eyes fading to white before collapsing backwards. The next day, the entirety of the crisis that day was being talked about and reported on by newscasters as 𝗧𝗍𝗧, now wearing more casual street attire, was seated in a restaurant together with a few of his friends. Seated beside him at their table was 𝗵𝗃𝗲, and opposite them was the likes of 𝗔𝗏 and Canonically. 𝗔𝗏 watched the footage being shown on the TV, perched in the upper corner of the dining floor, with a heavy groan. "God damn it, 𝗵𝗃𝗲," she muttered with a headshake. "What happened to you toning things back when it came to handling criminals?" Canonically chuckled while she massaged her forehead. "What were you expecting, 𝗔𝗏? He's always been that way since we first met in school," he added. "He just has a really short fuse. I'm thankful he didn't reduce that car pileup into a crater." 𝗵𝗃𝗲 growled, crushing his drink cup in his hand while slamming the table with his other hand. "Shut up. I was restraining myself." "I was," he exclaimed in absolute fury. 𝗧𝗍𝗧 looked on nervously, not saying a word as to further rile him. Looking to change the subject, Izuku turned to his friends and noticed the silver and gold rings on Jiro and Kaminari's fingers. Kaminari wore his on the same arm now draped over Jiro's shoulders. "Anyway," he said casually, "it's really great that you guys are back. How was your trip out to Europe?" Jiro and Kaminari lightly gasped, eyes turning to Izuku. Remembering the concert Jiro wanted to attend brought a smile to her face. "Well, we had a lot of fun. The hotel we were at was very accommodating, the people were friendly, and yeah, we just had a good time," she said. Kaminari genuinely blushed a bit as he saw Jiro's gaze turn to him. He lightly scratched his cheek. "We had to do something fun for our 2-year anniversary. Am I wrong?" He continued the story. "We should really be thanking Yairozu's family for offering to pay for the tickets. They weren't exactly cheap." Jiro agreed. "Still, the fact that you guys have been dating for 2 years now. That's a real accomplishment in its own way," Izuku added. Jiro glimpsed at Kaminari's hand before she began blushing as well. "Yeah. Who would have thought?" she said softly. Earphone jack and charge bolt, the hottest trend when it came to hero power couples that year. "But I'm not complaining." She then looked towards Kaminari, the sight of her smile making him flustered, thanking him for being a way cool boyfriend. He tried to pass it off as no big deal while trying not to show his real feelings. Bakugo's eyes shifted to Izuku. "At least you're doing better than this dork at dating. Right, Izuku?" he said in a braggish tone. Izuku gasped and looked to his friend, casually leaning in his seat. What's that supposed to mean, Kaken? And where did that come from?" he shouted, face bright red. His friend sighed and pointed a finger straight at him. "I'm talking about you and 𝗧𝗪𝗏, he proclaimed, causing Izuku to freeze up. "When are you gonna finally grow some balls and ask her out? It's obvious as all hell that you liked her, even when we first started going to UA. But here you are, Mr. #1 pro hero, too scared to even ask her on a date." Those words reduced to Izuku to a stuttering mess, trying and failing multiple times to find the best comeback to Bakugo's insult. But Kaminari suddenly laughed. "Like you're one to talk, Bakugo. I seem to recall you not having anyone either. Anytime one of your fangirls try getting close, you threaten to blast them." He proudly mocked. "You say Midoriya has issues? You couldn't get a girl, even if you tried." Bakugo snarled, the veins in his eyes bulging. "Say that again, idiot. Say that again and see what happens," he roared, beginning to form crackling sparks in his palm. As Kaminari worked to dissolve the situation, Jiro turned her gaze to Izuku, and he silently looked back. "As much as I want to disagree, Bakugo kind of has a point. Take it from me, Midoriya. If you really like 𝗧𝗪𝗏, you should pursue her. Unless you want someone else to ask her out first," she said. "When we used to hang out in the dorms, the other girls and I had an inkling that she had a flame burning for you too. Now would be the best time to ask her, especially with her folks living better." Izuku remained quiet before lightly nodded. Funny you should say that. 𝗧𝗪𝗏 said she wanted me to meet her a little later today. Maybe I'll try and bring it up then. Thanks for the support, Jiro. A while later, having left the restaurant and his friends, Izuku is making a beeline to meet up with Ochaco at their designated meetup spot. As he ran down the street, doing his best to avoid the traffic and other bystanders passing him, he eventually arrived and saw Ochaco leaning up against a building. Like him, she was also in casual attire as she soon saw him. She happily waved her hand. "Deku, there you are," she called. Izuku came to a stop at her side, stopping to catch his breath. "Hey, 𝗧𝗪𝗏. Sorry if I kept you waiting. I didn't want to use my battle suit, unless it was an emergency," he apologized. 𝗧𝗪𝗏 giggled back. "Don't worry. I only got here a little while ago myself," she said. "Thanks again for agreeing to meet up, Deku. Our hero work makes meetings like this a rare opportunity. Know what I mean?" Izuku laughed alongside her with a nod. "Speaking of which, can you explain why you wanted to meet here of all places?" he asked. Looking at the sign overhead, "Wouldn't a spa visit be better spent with someone like your mom? Or perhaps Yairozu?" He looked back to her just as she placed her left hand against his cheek, surprising him slightly, and rubbed the scar on his cheek. The wound was a memento from the final battle with All for One in the League of Villains. A soft smile was on Ochaco's face, earning Izuku's full attention. "This isn't really for me. It's more so a gift for you, Izuku," she softly replied, making him gasp. One of the masseuses that works here has a quirk that has made this place extremely popular. Her quirk allows her to boost the recovery of flesh wounds, even removing all traces of their existence. She then took his hand in hers, looking over the multitude of wounds present on his fingers and palm. I know you'd probably say these are reminders of your time mastering One for All. But now that the embers have faded away and you're not at risk of harming yourself with your own quirk, don't you think it's all right to treat these properly? She asked. Izuku was completely silent, unable to speak while she looked back at him with a look of genuine concern. Eventually, he lightly sighed and smiled back to her. Maybe you're right. I'll give it a shot, he said. Ochaco smiled. If I can be somewhat blunt, I miss the smiling face of that remarkably normal guy I met when I went to UA, and I'd like to see it again, she added. Following that, the two said nothing more as they went inside side by side through the sliding doors. What are the right word? Inside the private massage room for guests to use, Izuku is calmly laying on the massage board as Ochaco watches from afar on a nearby couch. He had stripped himself of his shirt, dressed in a pair of white shorts, with his scars on full display across his upper body and hands. A look of worry plagued Ochaco's face as she looked on before the masseuse came in. Sorry to keep you both waiting, a woman's voice said. Their gaze turned to her, a middle-aged woman dressed in a casual kimono and with short black hair, as she approached Izuku. She took one look at his multiple scars and gasped. Oh wow. Miss Uravity wasn't joking. You truly must have suffered when you were overusing your power, Mr. Deku. Even so, I thank you for all you did for us during those dark hours. If it weren't for you and the other heroes, I don't think we'd still be here, she said, bowing politely to him. Izuku chuckled. It's a small price to pay if it meant making sure we all had a future to look towards, he casually replied. The masseuse took her position next to Izuku and asked him to flip over. He agreed while crossing his arms under his head to prompt his pillow as she went to work, beginning with his upper muscles. It took a while for the feelings of her massage beginning to take effect, but Izuku looked extremely comfortable and sighed heavily once he was completely relaxed. Whoa. I don't think I ever got a massage that felt this good before, he replied with a goofy grin. Ochaco chuckled, using her phone to snap a pic of his expression before he noticed. As the massage went on, the overwhelming sense of relaxation caused him to drift to sleep. A previous conversation soon replayed itself in his mind, seated next to the elderly retired Toshinori at the park for lunch one day. You want to know what the best way is to tell Uraraka how you feel about her? Yeah. It's been something I can't seem to get right, no matter how much I practice ahead of time. You must have had a lot more experience dealing with fans admitting they loved you. Right, All Might? Ha 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 ha. Young Midoriya, I might have been the biggest celebrity in hero society when I was in my prime, but even I don't have the answer to something like that. I didn't have anyone that made me fall head over heels for them, so I'm afraid I'm not the best person to talk to. I know. Why not ask young Todoroki? He's quite popular when it comes to the ladies. And if I went to Shoto about this, I'd be way too embarrassed to ask him straight to his face. Haha. Well, I don't know what made you think talking with me was the better choice. But I may have something that might help. Ch? What? What is it? Just be yourself, young man. Use the time you've spent with her during your classes and just naturally apply it in future opportunities you get. If you just follow what your heart says, then just like how you mastered One for All, you'll be able to let the voice of your heart reach her. Thanks, All Might. No problem, my young protege. Also, you don't have to keep calling me All Might, right? Doh. Jeez. I can't believe I let it slip out again. Toshinori's laugh echoed in his mind as he slowly awakened from his massage, eyelids feeling heavy still. The first thing he noticed was Uraraka reading from a magazine before she noticed his eyes. Hey, sleepyhead. How was your nap? She teasingly asked. Izuku yawned loudly, covering his mouth, before rising up from the table. You slept through the entire process. She finished a while ago, but I guess you needed the extra hours of beauty rest. Ochaco continued. Izuku gasped, remembering what happened earlier, before asking her if she had a mirror on her. She pointed to a nearby full-body mirror and let his reflection answer for him. When he gazed at himself, he couldn't believe his eyes. The large scar that once filled up his upper left arm, as well as the previous wound on his face, had miraculously vanished, restoring the freckles beneath his eye. Still in shock, he brought his hand to his cheek and rubbed it. No trace of his damaged skin could be felt as Ochaco handed him his clothes back. "No way. This is amazing. It's like it was all a dream," he muttered. "See? I knew this was a chance worth taking." "Now you have your adorable face back," she replied. Deku immediately turned bright red in the face, Ochaco suddenly realizing what she said and slapped her hands over her mouth. What are you thinking, Ochaco? Why'd you say that?" she thought. When she realized he was glancing her way, she freaked out and began frantically waving her arms around. "I didn't mean it like that. I meant, yeah. You'll look a lot more photogenic next time someone asks for a photo." "Yeah, that's it," she exclaimed, completely flustered. Izuku started snickering, trying to hold it back before he burst out laughing. "That's quite the compliment, Uraraka." "Thank you, though," he laughed. His infectious laugh soon washed over her as she started laughing as well, wiping away a tear from her eye. The look of her big smile made Izuku's heart skip a beat, his feelings overwhelming him once again. As she continued laughing, he began to move his arm towards her. But, feeling this wasn't the right time, lowered it back to his side. A while later, having dressed himself again, Izuku and Ochaco left the spa and spent the remainder of the afternoon walking and reminiscing with each other. Their walk eventually led to the two having dinner together at a nearby cafe, the two sharing a table. He once again felt his smooth cheek. "Thanks again, Uraraka, for today. I know my mom is going to be over the moon when I see her next," he said. "You don't have to thank me, but if you insist, then I'm gonna hold you to it. If we end up getting dessert, I'm going to get whatever I want, no matter how much." "You can repay me by offering to pay," she teased. "I already paid for your massage." Izuku let out a small chuckle. "Okay then. I think I can manage that," he asked. Ochaco laughed, telling Izuku she was just jostling and not to take her words that seriously. The waiter arrived at their table with their orders and set them on the table. As he watched Ochaco talking with the waiter, he began thinking back to his talk with Toshinori. Would now be the best time to tell her? I mean, a lot of couples usually do so in those movies my mom enjoyed watching. Or is that just an overused trope? Ochaco picked up her utensils just as Izuku snapped back to the present. "Maybe I should hold off a little later. I mean, I don't want to embarrass her when there's so many people here. If any of them happen to be reporters, who boy, looks good. What do you think, Izuku?" Ochaco asked. Izuku looked down at his steak and nodded back. "It looks like a place Momo would definitely come to. Oh, speaking of which, did you know Kaminari and Jiro got back from their trip recently? The one Momo's parents helped pay for?" Izuku said, leading them into another conversation. The rest of their time together was them enjoying good food, each other's company, and catching up. To Izuku's slight frustration, once the night ended, he realized he once again botched his chance to tell Ochaco how he felt. The next day. At Ochaco's house the next day, she had just finished making herself look presentable before heading out in her hero costume. She adjusted her headpiece before taking another glimpse at herself in the mirror. As she was leaving, she noticed her mother walking towards her. "Oh, before you leave, Ochaco, there's something I wanted to ask you." "Do you have a second?" she asked. Even though her hand was on the doorknob, she nodded. "Sure, Mom." "What's up?" she asked. Her mother lightly smiled. "It's not a big deal or anything. But I forgot to ask you how your date with Izuku was last night. You came home with a pleasant smile on your face, so I can only imagine you finally let the boy know you like him," she asked. Ochaco suddenly froze up, her eyes widening and pupils shrinking, as sweat raced down her face. About last night, she said in a monotone fashion. Before she finished, her mother lightly sighed and shook her head, making Ochaco even more embarrassed. "Really, Ochaco? You don't have to keep holding it in any longer. I know you work hard as a hero to provide for your father and me. We already have plenty of money now, especially since we were endorsed by the Hero Public Safety Commission after you graduated. But I'm worried that you're doing all this at the cost of your own happiness," she continued, resting her hand against her cheek. Ochaco calmed down, albeit still with her face blushing greatly. "Even if you only start out as your own hero team, It's okay to rely on others. Amazing things can happen when people come together with those they care for. Remember, she asked, making her daughter gasp. The memory of her and Izuku together, after all for one's defeat, came flooding back, remembering the pain and misery she felt because she blamed herself for Toga's death. Ochaco, holding a hand can be enough to soothe the pain. Your my hero. Tears began leaking from her eyes, wiped away soon after. Sorry, Mom. I guess when it comes to love, I need a little more courage. But don't worry. If you and Dad are backing me up, I'll definitely be able to tell him, she replied, nodding with confidence. Her mother smiled before hugging her. That's my Ochaco, she said, patting her back. She then let her leave, Ochaco using float to travel across the city with a mighty jump. She touched down near the intersection of downtown before she turned her quirk off. Just then, she noticed someone had witnessed her touchdown and saw Mina Ishido glaring at her with arms crossed. She impatiently tapped her foot with a look of disappointment radiating off her. Oh, good morning, Pinky. How are? She waved before Ishido hurried over to her. She gave her an aggressive glare, pouting directly at her. Ochaco hesitated to say anything back. Ochaco, why didn't? How could? I mean, 𝗧𝗲𝗍, she growled, fumbling over her words before she started comically bopping Ochaco's head. Dummy. Dummy, 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 dummy. Ochaco grabbed Mina's wrists. Whoa. Calm down. Why are you pummeling me? She asked. Why? Why did you botch things up again? You had Deku in the palm of your hands and, just like the other times, you didn't seal the deal. You're just a total dummy. Ishido exclaimed. Suddenly, Ochaco realized that she had texted the others about their day together before she went to bed last night, sharing that she wasn't able to confess. Mina's look of anger quickly made sense for her. Ugh, I swear you are hopeless. Do you want some other girl to swipe Midoriya before you stop dragging your feet? Ishido continued, he might be as dense as you when it comes to romance, but you're driving me nuts with how long you're taking. Ochaco heavily sighed. Ribbit. Why did I know this was going to happen first thing? Sue asked. Both girls gasped and looked nearby, seeing Froppy stuck to the wall of the building in her hero suit. She leapt down in between the two before shoving them apart. Ishido, leave Uraraka alone. We've known each other since school and you should have expected this by now. Let her do things her own way, Ribbit, she continued, turning to Ochaco. Don't worry, Uraraka. Deku's not going anywhere. Ishido groaned, muttering Sue was not helping her case under her breath while looking away. Just then, the earpiece Ochaco wears in her helmet gave a couple of buzzes. She brought her hand to her ear. Hold on a second, she said before pressing a button down. Uravity, come in. Are you there? Deku? What's wrong? Is there a crisis? We've got a wounded child laying in the intersection by UA High. He was trying to stop a truck from hitting another bystander, but took the hit in his place. But he's losing blood at an incredible rate. We could use your quirk to help get him in the ambulance ASAP. On my way. Hang on. Hey, what's up, Ochaco? Mina asked. Ochaco turned away and used her quirk on herself again, her fingertips glowing briefly. Deku needs my help. A child was caught in a traffic accident and he's bleeding out, she shouted. I gotta go. Sorry, Ishido. We're going to have continue this later. They both gasped before she then leapt off again into the blue skies, leaving them watching from below, reignite the ashes. Across the city, there was a tragic incident on full display for everyone in the area. A large transport truck had crashed into a young white-haired boy and threw him down the road. The police were on site as well as an ambulance parked nearby, overlooking the severely wounded boy. Because of the impact, the child was suffering from a concussion, and his blood almost covered his entire face. His eyelids were heavy, fighting with all their might to keep his eyes open. But the pain was slowly causing him to black out, his hearing also waning at the same time. So much of the noise around him was blurring together. Child, loudly crying, tears pouring down his cheeks. Driver, I swear, officers. I looked away for just a second. I didn't think the kid would. Child's mother, oh sweetie, thank God you're all right. Paramedic number 1. He's going under. Hey, hang in there, kiddo. Paramedic number 2. Does anyone know whose child this is? Please speak up. As he was close to passing out, he saw someone else arriving at the scene, but he wasn't capable of making out who it was. The figure was Deku, just arriving in his battle suit onto the scene. He quickly scanned the accident before seeing the wounded child, hurrying over. Paramedics, Deku. Deku gasped, "Hey, can you hear me? Hang on." Presses an earpiece, "Uravity. Come in. Are you there?" Unable to take the pain anymore, the child blacked out just as Izuku was calling for Uraraka's help. The only thing he could hear now was the sound of his heartbeat. A while later, approximately half the day passed since the accident, and the child was quickly rushed to Ochaco Hospital by the combined efforts of Uravity's float and Deku using his lightweight to safely move him into the ambulance. As the sun was now beginning to set outside the windows, the boy is laying motionless in a hospital bed with an 𝗕 in his arm, bandages wrapped around his head and other wounds on his body, and his face was cleaned of the blood. Though he was out cold, his ears picked up a few key moments of speech. "Doctor, he's lost a lot of blood. I don't know if we'll have enough time to get a transfusion set up." "Deku, doctor? You said his blood type is O?" "Nurse, why yes." "Deku then, I implore you, give him my blood. I'm the same type." "Uravity, doctor, but he's already lost." "Deku, please. I want to help him. He deserves even a sliver of hope for a future." "Doctor, all right. Thank you. Maybe if it's your blood, we can make a miracle happen." The clock in his hospital room read 5:47 p.m. as the setting. Sun's light peeked through the nearby room. At his side was the likes of Deku and Uravity, the heroes who arrived in time to help him, along with an extra visitor who was using her quirk in an attempt to undo his injuries. Seated at the boy's side was Eri, using her rewind in small doses by resting her hand on his chest. Though a lot of time had passed, everyone's hard work began to show as the boy's eyes slowly began to open again. He had bright hazel-colored eyes as his hearing came back, picking up Izuku and Eri's conversation. "Oh, he's waking up," Eri said cheerfully. Izuku sighed heavily, along with Ochaco. "Thank goodness. You really are a miracle worker, Eri. Have you maybe considered being a licensed hero like Recovery Girl?" he said, looking her way. The boy's eyes slowly shifted towards Deku, seeing he was in casual clothing but with a strand of bandage wrapped around his right arm, evident of the transfusion procedure. Soon, both Izuku and Ochaco turned their attention to him. "Hi there, sleepyhead. You feeling any better?" Ochaco asked softly. The boy groaned, looking around him before turning back to Izuku. "If you're wondering, you're at Ochaco Hospital. The doctors had to do a blood transfusion while you were out. They weren't sure if you were going to make it. But you're a real trooper," he said. Ochaco nodded, commenting that the police said the reports from witnesses was that he was trying to save another kid from being hit. "You have the heart of a hero, just like All Might." Izuku continued. "W happened," the boy muttered. "Where is my brother?" The others gasped. "Brother? Wait, did the police say anything about his family?" Eri asked. Izuku shook his head. The mother of the other child said she didn't know him. No one else recognized him either. Ochaco said. He slowly tried to get up in bed, Eri's rewind allowing him to sit without serious injury to his body. But Ochaco still advised him to take it easy before he looked Izuku in the eyes. "I heard someone's voice earlier. Was that you?" he asked. Izuku looked confused at first before looking back at his bandaged arm. "Oh yeah. The doctors transferred my blood to you. You probably heard me begging them to perform the procedure," he replied. "Right. We probably haven't been introduced yet. My name's Izuku Midoriya, a licensed pro hero that was at the scene to help you. But you can call me by my hero name, Ochaco then introduced herself, chiming in mention of her name Uravity before introducing Eri. "And my name's Kazuto. Deku," the boy said, tears beginning to well up in his eyes. "Thank you so much. You saved my life." Izuku softly smiled before gently placing his hand atop his head. "It's okay. That's just what heroes do," he said. "You should take it easy and let your body recover. We won't be going anywhere anytime soon." Ochaco looked to Izuku. "But what about his family?" "I didn't hear any confirmation about his family until he mentioned a brother," she said. Hearing those words appeared to hit Kazuto hard, everyone gasping from surprise, as he cried more. My parents. They abandoned me and my brother. Oh, because we were born quirkless, he exclaimed, sobbing in between his words. Deku gasped, eyes shaking, as he thought back to his mom comforting him and then to him asking All Might his question. Is it possible to become a hero, even if I don't have a quirk? I'm just a normal kid without any powers. Could I ever hope to be somebody like you? Ochaco was utterly shaken, covering her mouth while Aries' mouth simply hung open. She began having flashbacks to the incident that led her to be abandoned by her birth mother and eventually in the claws of Overhaul. That's horrible, Ochaco shouted. Izuku's eyes grew stern as his story continued. Since we were 6, me and my brother had been living on the streets. To then, he goes missing and I try to find him, leading me to saving a complete stranger that I thought was him. I almost died for nothing, Kazuto exclaimed. Izuku quickly moved in, kneeling down next to his bed and enveloped the boy in a hug. Izuku, Eri exclaimed. He began rubbing the back of his head with his hand, the boy's tears becoming trails down his cheeks. Don't look down on your accomplishments, Kazuto. You saved that child's life, even if it meant getting hurt yourself. You are amazing, Izuku said softly. It'll be okay. I'll help you find your brother. I swear both of you boys are going to be okay. I promise. Just then, there came a knock at the door before it was opened by Tashinori and another man in a doctor's jacket. The man had short, slick brown hair, beard stubble, and a pair of under-rim glasses. In Tashinori's hands was bags of takeout from a fast food joint, meant for Izuku and the others. Hey, Midoriya. Sorry I was late. Not only was the place crowded, but I also ran into this gentleman when I entered. He said he was looking for you, I think, Tashinori explained. The doctor approached Izuku as the two moved away from the hug. Pardon me. I don't mean to intrude, but you're Izuku Midoriya, correct? He asked, offering a hand. My name is Dr. Takeda Takashi, a specialist in the study of quirk evolution theories. I've wanted to meet you for a long time now. Tashinori took his place at the boy's side as Izuku shook the doctor's hand. Hello. I'm Izuku, all right. But you can call me Deku. Is there something I can help you with? He asked. Takashi looked at the boy in the bed before looking back to Izuku. Well, I can see you must be busy with this young man. But if you can spare a few minutes, can we talk in the hallway? He asked. Izuku glimpsed towards his friends before seeing Tashinori giving him a thumbs up. Sure. Let's talk outside, he said. He followed Takashi outside just as Tashinori handed the food to everyone else. Izuku leaned against the door shortly after closing it, Takashi clearing his throat before continuing. Deku, I was out of Japan when the League of Villains overtook the country, doing research into the evolution of quirks with American citizens. I wasn't able to come back to the country until after the rebuilding was completed and the airlines opened again, he explained, but I will say that I do know about the efforts and contributions you gave to the heroes when faced with an overwhelming evil such as All for One. It was all over the news channels from the hotel I was staying at, and, well, your quirk, One for All, greatly sparked my curiosity. Izuku lightly gasped before looking away, slightly dejected. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I no longer have One for All. I destroyed my quirk in order to defeat All for One to save Japan and those I cared for. The embers are long gone as well, he said. Dr. Takashi seemed a bit shaken at first, pausing briefly to ponder, before looking back to Izuku. I see. I had no idea. It worked that way, he said, falling silent again. Izuku nodded, apologizing for crushing his hopes. But the doctor suddenly put his hand on his shoulders, causing him to look back. But I can work with this. Dash? Oh. Sorry. I mean, Izuku Midoriya? What if I said the fruits of my research can be of great use to you? What if I told you, we have the means to reignite the smolders of One for All inside you, he asked, looking sternly at him. Izuku gasped, shaken to his core by the doctor's proposal. Why, you mean, you have a way to revive One for All? He asked, making sure he heard correct. Takashi nodded. From what All Might told me, One for All is a quirk that was built off the combined growth passed down from 8 previous wielders before you inherited it as the 9th wielder. It was a source of great power that he used to make sure those who needed a hero's aid got it. Takashi continued, "My results have shown that quirk awakenings can, in special instances, be tied to the strength of our core beliefs and our connections to those we cherish, sowing the seeds needed for it to evolve and grow. I believe the ties you have with your friends from UA have the potential to reawaken One for All's core, to reignite the spark necessary for you to wield it." While they continued talking and Toshinori tended to Kazuto, Ochaco was leaning against the door, eavesdropping on them. "Deku," she muttered. "W.O. Hold on. This is a lot to take in at once." Izuku shouted, "Like I said, I had to essentially destroy my quirk in order to bring down All for One. Whatever is left in me is long gone." Dr. Takashi shook his head. "You say that. But I have found scientific proof, in all my years of studying quirks, that those whose quirks become unusable because of our factors or physical conditions still leave behind a lingering flame within its user, like a wick of a candle that can be used again," he said, making Izuku gasp. "I strongly believe that we can reawaken One for All, even if it smolders in the breeze. But the decision is ultimately yours." He then extended a hand to him again, leaving Izuku dead silent. "I wish to offer you this proposal, 𝗧𝗵𝗲. Will you lend yourself to the future of my research? If you do, I promise no. I swear to do all I am physically capable of to reawaken One for All, so you can wield its strength again," he said. "If you need the consent of your classmates and family also, I'll make the same proposal to them. I want to make sure you are 100% comfortable before going any further. Your personal feelings will be my top priority from here on out." The hero didn't know what to say, looking on with eyes quaking from a rekindled flame of hope, the same that he felt when All Might told him those fateful words. "Young man, you too can become a hero." His hand began shaking, hesitant to agree. But after remembering the growth he amassed while at UA and wielding his quirk to protect others, he grew the confidence to shake his hand. "All right. I'll agree." "Yes," he shouted. Dr. Takashi smiled, wiping a brief tear from his eye. "Thank you, Dao. I promise to not let you down." "I swear," he replied. Just then, there came a knock at the door behind him. Izuku looked back to see Toshinori, Ochaco trying to hide her eavesdropping by casually whistling. A confident smirk lined his lips as she looked back. "I had a feeling you would accept, young Midoriya," he said. "In that case, don't forget these words. You have earned the right to wield One for All with your own hands. And you have the support from not just me, but also from the vestiges of the previous wielders, my master included." Izuku nodded, sharing a fist bump with his master. Ochaco then chimed in with her own fist, smiling brightly. "You also have me backing you up, Deku, as well as the rest of our class. We chipped in to get you that prized battlesuit, and we'll do it again if it means bringing back One for All," she said. "After all, we've been a team since the beginning." Izuku then noticed Eri sneaking her hand in as well, her nod signifying she wished to help as thanks for rescuing her and the motivational support to control Rewind. "Thanks, you guys," Izuku proclaimed, smiling purely with tears in his eyes. "Remember, go beyond," Toshinori shouted. "Plus ultra." Ochaco and Izuku yelled in unison. From his bed, Kazuto watched on in silence. He was completely amazed by the number of people lending help to the hero that just saved his life. "Mr. Ta?" he muttered, gathering of allies. Over the course of the next 4 days, Izuku worked together with Dr. Takashi in his quirk evolution research, promising him he would find a way to reignite the flame of One for All inside him. The first day mostly consisted of him running diagnostic scan, following up with a brain scan, instructing Izuku to think back on his previous battles and memories of One for All. The next day was Dr. Takashi fulfilling his part of the deal by meeting with and collecting samples of DNA from each of his classmates from UA High and others close to him. He was able to get strands of hair from most of his friends, including the likes of Toshinori, Kota, Eri, and Inko, while having to draw blood from those who lacked hair. The special cases were the likes of Hagakure, Mineta, and Koji. As an extra precaution, he was able to obtain samples from other pro heroes, including Aizawa, Mandalay, Recovery Girl, and Gran Torino. The third day, Izuku met with Takashi in his on-site laboratory at Jocko Hospital after doing his morning rounds of the city. Morning, Izuku. Sleep okay?" he asked, seated at his desk. Izuku nodded. "Yeah. How did things go with my friends?" Izuku responded. Takashi smiled before wheeling his chair aside to show him. On his desk computer was the DNA structures and factors of the quirks taken from each of his friends and loved ones. They were very easy to converse with. You do have such wonderful classmates, 𝗧𝗂𝐴. When I told them it was an attempt of reawake one for all, they didn't hesitate to agree. However, let's just say it was a bit difficult when I went to visit your childhood friend, Dynamite, he explained, recalling his short fuse by the doctor trying to clip his hair. The mere mention of Bakugo's hero name brought a look of shame to Izuku's face, laughing in an embarrassed tone while picturing his rage-filled expression. Let me guess. He said he would do it himself? He asked. Takashi nodded. In the case of Toshinori and your mother, I collected an extra sample of their blood due to your close ties with them both. Your mother is for obvious reasons, and as for All Might, he was also a wielder of One for All as well as the man who passed the quirk on to you. His readings are especially interesting, given the history of your quirk factors at work during your prime. The doctor continued with all this. I will be attempting to see if I can overlap it with your data and see how a sample of your DNA would react to your friend's quirk factors. Izuku lightly smiled, thanking Takashi but telling him that he was in no hurry and to make sure to rest. Just then, the doctor's stomach growled loudly, turning his face red. Looks like I forgot to eat. Such is what happens when you're engrossed in your work, he retorted. Want me to grab you something from the cafeteria? Izuku offered. Takashi politely declined, saying he just had to find the bag lunch he stashed somewhere nearby. A knock came at the door, Izuku glimpsing over his shoulder. Pardon the intrusion, but we were told this is where we'd be able to find the pro hero Deku? A voice asked. Izuku lightly gasped as he quickly could recognize the voice by its tone. Takashi shouted back that they were in the right place as the door then opened, revealing the visitors as Shuichi and Atsuhiro, known by their villain identities as Spinner and Mr. Compress while they were working with the League of Villains. Sorry to interrupt, but can we talk in private, kid? Shuichi asked. Izuku's gaze sterned, agreeing despite not knowing what was happening. At the same time, back at Izuku's home, thanks to Eri's aid in boosting his recovery, Kazuto was taken in by Inko thanks to the duo speaking up for him. But it was no longer at the apartment complex that he had grown up in. Due in part to the amount of money Izuku earned because of his pro-hero work, he was able to afford his own house and invited Inko to move in with him. It allowed for more space for their belongings. Izuku's room, also his off-site office for hero work, was decorated with his All Might merch. Hanging on his wall was not just a framed copy of his old journal that All Might signed, but he also had a drawing commissioned. It was, based off his memory alone, the faces of the previous wielders of One for All from Yoichi to All Might and himself. They has a large backyard that Inko was using to make herself a garden of her own. You poor baby. I'm so sorry that happened to you, Inko said while hugging Kazuto. Any mother that willingly abandoned their child for petty reasons like that is no mother in my book. Kazuto couldn't believe how kind Inko was, seeing a reflection of Deku in her. Ochaco chuckled. She's just like him, right? Ochaco asked, having noticed his expression. Yeah. Wow. Kazuto muttered in amazement. Having left the hospital, Kazuto was given hand-me-down clothes from Izuku's childhood as his former were left a tattered and bloodied mess from the incident. Inko smiled, rubbing the top of his head while he sat in her lap. The feeling of being loved by a mother had him in a state of happiness, but also feeling embarrassed for being coddled. Inko glimpsed towards Ochaco. Ochaco? Can I ask you something? She asked. What is it, Inko? Do you need me to do something for you? Ochaco asked. Inko shook her head. No, not really. But I wanted to know how you feel about my boy Izuku, she asked. His name caused Ochaco's cheeks to blush red, looking away sheepishly. Why you too? She asked, Inko looking confused. Sheesh. It feels like I've been dogged by everyone, my friends and mother, about if I have feelings for Deku. I didn't expect his mom to be added to that list. Inko raised a hand, apologizing if she was bothering her by her question. But Ochaco shook her head. It's alright. Maybe since you're Deku's mother, you can help me too, she said. If I'm being honest, I don't know how to deal with this myself. Whenever we are together, I hesitate to tell him. I mean, with our work as pro-heroes, what if that throws a monkey wrench into it? Oh, Ochaco sweetie, she replied. Then again, it's probably my own fault for not letting him know sooner. He has been trying just as hard as the rest of us, even more so because he was carrying one for all. I supported him whenever he needed me, and he's definitely returned the favor and helped me," she continued. "I was so focused on becoming stronger and on my goals so that I wouldn't want to be a burden to him or to have these feelings interfering." She glimpsed down at her hand. "I've always had this question tumbling around in my mind. When heroes are the ones suffering, who will step up to help them?" Ochaco continued, "Is it wrong that I want to be there for him?" I didn't hesitate to speak up when he was rejected by the enraged evacuees. Her memories of the exhausted Izuku being harassed and her speech from the rooftop came back, remembering the tears becoming torrents down his cheeks. Inko smiled, surprising Ochaco. "I don't think it's wrong at all, honey. Just from the sound of your voice, I can tell you want to respect him." "But, do you want to know something?" she asked. She nodded as Kazuto gazed at Inko. It was right around his first week or so at UA, and all he could talk about was the number of pro heroes he met, being able to study under All Might, as well as how amazed he was by his friends, she said as time went on. "He only sung your praises more and more. He'd actually bring you up the most, Ochaco." Ochaco lightly gasped. "I was so happy that my Izuku had made so many wonderful friends at UA. I felt so relieved that he was coming out of his shell more," she continued, wiping a tear away. "When you kids were moved to the dorms, he kept sending me letters about you all were doing. It helped me stay at ease despite him being so far away. But he never stopped highlighting your accomplishments. You've become quite the figure in his life." She began rubbing Kazuto's head again. "And recently, when he comes home, he's constantly asking me for advice on dating, how to impress a girl, or how I met his father. By now, it's easy to say he's having the same trouble you are. If that helps you in any way, just know he's in the same boat as you. At the end of the day, just remember that you're only human despite your lives as pro heroes," she finished, shedding a smile. Ochaco blushed more, imagining her and Izuku sitting in a boat together. They both had their backs to each other, and were just twiddling their fingers while occasionally glimpsing at the other. "Izuku," Ochaco muttered. Meanwhile, returning to outside Jako Hospital, Izuku took to a bench with Shuichi and Atsuhiro. Each of them had a canned drink in their hand while he sat between the two ex-villains. The air was rather heavy, nobody sure if they should speak first or not. "Should I begin, Spinner?" Atsuhiro asked. Shuichi glimpsed before shaking his head, sighing afterwards. "A couple days ago, we got to speaking with All Might. We had some questions and he told us about the truth about All for One's plans and what he really wanted out of Shigaraki," the lizard said. Izuku lightly gasped, remembering Shigaraki's face. "Neither of us had any idea that man was going to literally wear our leader like a flesh suit, and I sat in a prison cell throughout the rest of my comrades' battles. Toga, Dabi, Kurogiri. He told us everything about them as well." Atsuhiro continued, "In a way, I was glad to hear they continued fighting for their own reasons. But we're all that's left." Shuichi lightly growled, clenching his chin tighter as he thought of All for One. The fact All for One and that quack doctor were trying to mutate my friend just so he could move in, even going as far as manipulate every part of his life since childhood, makes me furious. He growled, "I should have done something to stop him. I should have talked Shigaraki and Tenko out of it." And as if to add injury to insult, Stain chose to fight back with all might, before that bastard stole his quirk and killed him. What was I thinking? Izuku quickly put his hand on the lizard's shoulder, doing what he could to ease his rising temper. Shuichi noticed and began taking calming breaths, thanking him. What Shuichi is trying to say, Midoriya, is that he's sorry for the spiteful things he said to you years ago? Atsuhiro intervened. Shuichi nodded. The moment in question was when Izuku was face-to-face with Spinner after the war ended, sitting in an interrogation room. "Oh, it's no problem. You don't have to apologize. And if I'm honest, I wasn't sure if I should have told you about what happened. If you knew, especially after what you went through, I thought you would have burst into an uncontrollable fit and lose control of yourself." Izuku said, "All for One used all of you, all for his own evil agenda." Atsuhiro looked out at the people and cars passing by. "Since we were released from prison thanks to good behavior, we've been wondering what's next for us. Would it be worth it to revive the League without our former comrades? After everything that happened? Of the original League of Villains, We are all that's left, he continued. We weren't sure. But Shuichi later told me he wanted to speak with you. I only tagged along for moral support. Izuku lightly smiled, looking between the two of them. Your octopus friend has already done a lot for other heteromorphs while I rotted in prison, and I knew for sure I wasn't about to start another riot anytime soon. Shuichi added, I guess at the end of it all we've been having a bit of identity crisis. Izuku rested his hand atop Shuichi's scaly one. If it'll help, maybe you could see this as your chances to plot out a new future? To redeem yourselves. Izuku said your friends might be gone, but you could use your quirks and experiences for positive motives, while keeping their spirits alive. He looked towards Atsuhiro, Shuichi scratching his head. Mr. Compress, you could become a hero if you were to improve on your quirk and used it for protection. If not, you could find good work in other areas with it. Your power to shrink and encapsulate anything would be a great asset to those working in industry or other heavy lifting jobs, he said. He then turned to Shuichi. And Spinner? Your book about the League was a surprise hit with audiences who were interested in you. It shined new light on each of you, allowing others to understand your motives. You could maybe try and use your writing talent to publish more stories or self-help books, he continued, or you could work with Tentacle and work to improve the lives of the other heteromorphs. It's not too late for either of you to turn your lives around. The two looked at each other as Izuku fell silent. I have to admit, Captain Compressor does have a nice ring to it. Atsuhiro laughed, stroking his chin. After all, look at what became of Gentle Criminal. His life greatly improved after he left the villainy business behind. Shuichi glimpsed down towards his hands. I'll think about it, he said. Thanks for hearing us out. And thanks for sticking up for Tenko when it really mattered. Izuku lightly smiled. If either of you ever need help, feel free to contact me. If I'm out, I'm sure 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and Bubble Girl will let me know right away, he said. Atsuhiro smirked. Well, look who's been stepping up in the world. Never would have expected you, kiddo, he teased. Izuku merely shrugged and commented on how a lot has changed since the war ended. Shuichi looked down at his hands, letting out a silent sigh. Elsewhere, as the days had come and gone for Izuku and friends, Garaki continued putting the finishing touches on his newest monster. Sensors and tubes were now placed all across its body. The evil doctor kept watch of his monitors of the creature's growth and its vitals, heartbeat at a stable rate. As he looked at the numbers, a big grin came across his face. Excellent. You're maturing just as I knew you would. Things are going along as planned, he said, turning back to the creature in his chair. In about 48 hours, you'll be complete and set loose upon Japan. And when the dust settles from your destructive rampage, Izuku and his foolish friends will be gone, along with the remainder of those annoying heroes. He rose from his chair and approached the glass, pressing his hand against it. Of all the Nomu I've ever created, including what I once called my masterpieces, I'd say you are my true greatest work. So I think it's about time you had a name befitting of your perfection, he said. I know. From this moment on, your name is Aku. With the number of quirks I've infused into you, only you will decide who deserves life or death. From inside, the creature let out a low yet satanic laugh thanks to its recently mutated mouth. Razor-sharp teeth peeked through its lips. Class 1A reunite. Another day passed, Izuku arriving home to see Kazuto dressed in his old clothing. Ochaco was there to witness him, somewhat surprised that the only spare clothes she had was his old All Might clothes. The girls only laughed as Izuku looked on flustered. Ochaco then stayed for dinner with the Midoriya family, before bidding goodbye to Izuku. As the next day began, Izuku once again returned to Dr. Takashi's office to ask how his research was. But upon arrival, he saw the doctor was completely passed out from exhaustion. He hadn't gotten much sleep, his work keeping his focus throughout the night. He showed Izuku a light silver fluid in a vial when he came around. This is it. This is what I have been working to produce these last sleepless nights. It's meant to reinvigorate your quirk factors and hopefully relight the flames of One for All's ashes, he said with great excitement. It may take time to fully take effect, but I have an 80% guarantee that this will work. Izuku silently looked on, picturing All Might in his prime against the reflection of the glass. Are you sure? He asked, Takashi setting the vial aside. I know you did all this for me. You've definitely earned my trust with how diligent you worked. But some part of me is hesitant. If it does reanimate One for All, is my body going to be able to withstand its incredible power again? He looked away with a sigh as Takashi put a hand on his shoulder. I understand. You have doubts, he said, the two looking on at each other, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to take it if you don't want to. Could give me more time to make sure it's perfected. But can I tell you something? It may be somewhat selfish. Izuku raised a brow. You see, I had another reason for wanting to work with you to bring One for All back. It isn't for any personal or profitable reasons. But when I heard about the history behind the quirk, I thought that Japan should find a way to restore and preserve it for the betterment of the future. It may not happen anytime soon, even decades from now. But it would be worth having a hero with this quirk if someone on the same level as All for One was to appear, he explained. Do you understand? Izuku nodded. Yeah, I do, he replied softly. He glimpsed back at the vial. Would you maybe give me some time to think about it? I'll call you if I change my mind. Izuku asked. Takashi nodded with a confident grin. Sure. After all we've been through, I think I've gotten to know you a lot more, Deku. Take all the time you need, he replied before something else came to mind. Oh, that's right. I recently received an email from your friend Creati about wanting to meet up with you and the others for a class reunion get-together. She extended an invitation to me as well. Did you get the notice? Izuku nodded. Yeah. It's later this afternoon. I wouldn't miss it for anything. Class 1 barely gets together much anymore since we graduated. I can't wait to see everyone again. Izuku said, the two chuckling together. He then told Takashi that he had to make some last-minute preparations before leaving. Donning his battlesuit, Izuku took great leaps across the city as his cape flowed behind him with each jump. I wonder, am I fit to wield One for All again? There's no longer a need since All for One has been gone for so long. But maybe Dr. Takashi has a point. What if we do have someone appear in the future that's on par with him, he thought. Eventually, Izuku landed in the downtown streets of Mizudafu. Recalling his suit, he walked inside of a jewelry store and saw the likes of Ryuko eyeing the display cases. Huh? What are you doing here, Ryuko? He asked. She glimpsed back before with a light chuckle, turned and waved to him. I could ask you the same question, Deku. You here getting something for yourself? She asked, maybe. You could help me pick something out for Mirko. Unless Eri told you, she was going through treatment with Rewind and has successfully regained her hands and legs again. Izuku gasped. Really? That's great. Eri's quirk is really amazing, he laughed. Ruka nodded. I told her she should consider a career as a support hero or doctor if she wanted to help more people. There are definitely some war-wounded heroes that would benefit from Rewind's power, she continued. Still smiling, Izuku looked down at the case in front of him and lightly gasped at the sight of a small ring bearing a pink diamond atop it. Just then the shop owner approached. Welcome. What can I do for you too? He asked, gasping when he realized his clients. Oh. Forgive me. I almost didn't recognize you, or you, Mr. Deku. Izuku chuckled, saying jewelry stores weren't where he usually visits. He then looked back at the ring before pointing to it. How much is that ring? I'm considering buying it, he asked. The owner fished the ring out of the display before showing it to him. You have good taste, Deku. This is our store's special Sakura diamond ring. Normally, it fetches quite a hefty price because of how rare the gemstone is. It would roughly be about 300,000 yen. Izuku gasped. For something that small? He exclaimed, Ruka laughing. The owner laughed as well before pulling aside a ring box and placing it inside. He then moved it closer to him, surprising him. But for the hero who risked everything for our sakes, before he even graduated Yudara, I'm willing to part with it as a thank you gift. I have a feeling it's for someone special that you chose this particular ring. So consider it my store's way of thanking you for reminding everyone what a true hero is. And even after how we evacuees at UA treated you before, he said, recalling how he was within earshot of the mob screaming for his rejection. But you don't have to do that for me. Really? I'd be willing to pay you, sir, he shouted. Feelings conflicted. Ryuko suddenly brought out her credit card and flashed it to the owner. Then, allow me to pay for it, Midoriya, she said, catching him off guard. Don't worry. You don't have to repay me. I already know who it's likely for. and I ask you make her happy. Izuku fell silent before picturing Uraraka wearing the ring, catching on that even she knew he loved her. Thank you, really, he muttered, small tears forming in his eyes. Later on, it was late afternoon as the Class 1A students began convening at a small but fancy retreat owned by Yaoyorozu's family. They all arrived in their hero costumes, being given the notice that they didn't need to come in anything too fancy by Momo. Izuku was the latest to arrive as he saw just about everyone in the yard, deciding to show up in casual attire rather than use his mech suit. Hey, there he is. Midoriya. Kirishima shouted, waving his arm. Izuku waved back, rushing over towards him joined by Ojiro and Sato. Kirishima. Ojiro. You too, Sato. It's so great to see you guys again, he exclaimed. Sato laughed. Yeah. No kidding. Work's been so much for me that I haven't had the time to catch up, he said. Sorry about that, Midoriya. But I made sure to keep track of your endeavors after we chipped in for that suit. Nothing slowed you down, huh? Just then, Izuku heard another voice calling out to him, looking to see Mina next to Yorozu and Hagakure. The invisible girl waved her hands so to be noticed. Midoriya, over here. Ashido called. Momo walked over to him as they were soon joined by Ida. Izuku, there you are, he laughed. Oh hey, Ida. How've you been? Izuku asked, shaking his hand. Momo chuckled. I'm glad you could find time to come. Welcome to the party, Midoriya, she said while offering him a drink. Ashido slyly slinked to his side and lightly poked his side. Hey, Midoriya. Wanna know something juicy? She quietly asked, keeping her voice down. Haha. There's a little lady who... But before she could finish, Uraraka quickly appeared and slapped her hands across Mina's mouth. Don't you dare, she yelled, a look of anger burning. Mina looked back and gasped, her voice muffled by Ochaco. Nearby, Shinsho watched with a headshake. Momo sighed. Really, Ashido? You don't go gossiping about your friends like that, especially when they're in earshot of you, she reprimanded Ashido. Izuku felt a tap on his shoulder, looking to see Shoto with Mineta and Zero. Hey there, Todoroki. Izuku gasped. Shoto quietly nodded with a smile. Suddenly, Mineta let out a gasp. Dude, where did that big scar on your face go? He asked as he pointed to his cheek. Izuku lightly chuckled, scratching his cheek. Oh, it was thanks to this special masseuse that Ochaco recommended. Along with the best massage I ever had, she had a quirk that boosted the natural recovery of wounds. Believe me, I thought I was dreaming when I saw it was gone, he explained. Even the one on my arm and hands are gone. Shoto lightly tilted his head, looking confused. So, it's like you never had one for all. But are you okay? I remember you saying they were experiences you never wanted to forget about, Todoroki asked. Well, at first, I figured they were part of my identity given what we've been through. But I somehow have felt more at ease since. My mom was certainly happy. Izuku laughed. Zero smirked, betting it was so he could find himself a girlfriend without worrying about them appearing as a turn-off. Izuku gasped, Mineta snickering to himself. No comment, he replied, the two laughing more. Across the courtyard, Momo was talking with Jiro and Kaminari. How was your trip, Jiro? I hoped you both had a great time touring Europe, she asked. Jiro nodded. Yeah. Actually, we've been trying to think of a proper way to thank you for that, she replied. Seriously, Yorozu, you didn't have to go that far for us. But we appreciate it. Kaminari added, speaking of which, how have things been with the times you visited Endeavor? I think I have a good idea who somebody has eyes on. You only visit to see Todoroki, aren't you? Jiro groaned, elbowing him. Dude, she retorted. Momo began blushing, twiddling her fingers. Well, if I would be honest, you aren't too far off, Kaminari, she said. Jiro and Kaminari simultaneously gasped. No way. Jiro exclaimed. Suddenly, everyone stopped when they heard someone clapping their hands. All eyes turned to see Aizawa appearing alongside the likes of Present Mike, Cementos, and All Might. Alright, everybody calm down. Hope you weren't planning to gossiping between yourselves all night, Aizawa said in a monotone tone. Mike laughed, throwing his arm over his shoulder. Cementos watched from behind with a laugh. Lighten up, Eraserhead. They're not students anymore. so I don't think you need to be bossing them around like that. Besides, Class 1A has been so busy as heroes that this is a big night for them, he explained. Toshinori nodded. He's right. Honestly, I'm surprised you were able to make it Aizawa. Has the retired life not improved your mood? He asked, the latter groaning to himself. Whatever. I suppose they do earn this, he shrugged. Just then, Izuku noticed Dr. Takashi arriving alongside Eri and Kazuto, the boy still wearing his hand-me-down clothing. So this is the famous Class 1A of UA High School? The ones who took on so many notorious villains since they were only first years. Takashi teased. Kazuto quickly noticed Izuku and, feeling shy, waved back. He felt a push from behind, Takashi letting him know he could hang around Izuku if he wanted. Eri agreed and took his hand, bringing him along with her. Did you sleep okay, Kazuto? Sorry I wasn't there to greet you when you wake up. But I know my mom's been dotting on you, hasn't she? He asked. Kazuto blushed. I don't hate it or anything, he muttered. Some of Izuku's classmates slowly began to join him by his side. Oh, so you must be the kid that Izuku donated his blood to, the one caught in that major car accident. That must have been way scary for someone your age. Ojiro said. The young man was about to speak before Kirishima patted Kazuto's back, lightly jostling him. Still, that was way manly, kiddo. I heard the reporters wrote about you throwing yourself to protect another kid. You already got my respect, little hero, he proudly proclaimed. As Hagakure wanted to shake his hand, her invisible body caught him off guard and he fumbled back with a shriek, colliding against Ishido. She began ruffling his hair. You sound just like Midoriya. Did you know our Midoriya made his start like you did? He went rushing to help his best friend Bakugo from being captured by a villain, and all before they entered high school, she chimed in. From afar, Bakugo's voice could be heard, nearly scaring the pants off Yuga. Shut it, Pinky. Nobody wants to hear that, he screamed, scaring Kazuto and made him rush behind Izuku's legs. Izuku nervously chuckled, patting his head. Don't mind him. Despite his scary exterior, Kaken is a good person when you get to know him. We're actually childhood friends, he said. Kazuto looked up, bafflement riddling his expression. What kind of kid would want a big mouth like that as a childhood friend? He thought. Just then, Izuku saw Bakugo approach. So, do you feel any sparks coming from One for All yet? The doc told us he had finished his experiment, he asked. Izuku lightly gasped, looking away with anxiety on his face. His friends were quick to notice. Midoriya? Is everything okay? Kirishima asked. I haven't taken it yet. If I'm honest, I was worried I wouldn't be able to handle it again, he stuttered. Some of them sighed, but others respected his worries, and some looked worried. Midoriya, we all chipped in because we wanted to help. It's the same as when we came together to pay for that battlesuit. Ojiro said, then again, caution has always been a quirk of yourself. I get you may be a little uneasy. Todoroki placed his hand on Izuku's shoulders. We all knew you worked hard to keep the embers alive after your fight with All for One. And I always had a gut feeling you wished you could have kept it going longer. After all, you used to be quirkless, he said. Kazuto gasped upon hearing Shoto's words, looking up at Izuku. He was just like me, he thought. Just then, Ochaco walked over and took Izuku's hand. You should accept it, Dio. We all came together because we cared about you. Even if you don't get the grips of One for All right away, we'll be here to help. Each step of the way, too, she smiled. You don't have to worry about hiding it from anyone anymore. His friends began giving nods or encouraging words to Izuku as they gathered around him. Bakugo also approached him, showing his eagerness for their rivalry to continue with the look in his eyes. With the other teachers, Toshinori was watching from afar with a smile. It's your choice, young man. You earned One for All with your hard work and dedication when I first met you, and now you have so many others willing to stand by you. If you were given a chance to do it all over again, I think we both knew you wouldn't hesitate. Just like back then too, he thought. I'm sure even the original wielder would still approve. Izuku looked around at his friends gathering by his side, Eri included, trying to stop himself from crying. He had memories of their school life flooding through his mind like a vicious torrent, warming his heart with each new one that came back. He suddenly looked towards Dr. Takashi? You wouldn't happen to have brought it with you, would you? He asked. Takashi was taken aback slightly, but smiled and nodded. Like I said, it's your choice at the end, 𝗧𝗑𝐽. But if I could speak frankly, you have some pretty amazing friends, not hesitating to come together for their classmate, he said while pulling the vial from his pocket. He passed it to him, the others looking on with anticipation. Like before, he looked at his reflection against the tube and began imagining All Might's prideful smile before he began picturing the other wielders as well. Well, here goes nothing, he thought, bringing the vial to his lips, one for all. If you're still lingering within me, let me borrow your power once again. He began drinking the silver fluid down before taking a big swallow. He shuddered slightly, not a fan of the taste. So, what's supposed to happen now? Yuga asked. Ochaco moved closer, asking 𝗧𝗂 if he was feeling any different or if nothing changed. He rubbed his stomach. I don't think anything's going to change suddenly. Takashi said, it'll take time for it to spread. I'd guess in the next few days if nothing happens, we'll have our answer. 𝗧𝗂 nodded, looking back to a smiling Toshinori. A look of embarrassment suddenly came to his face, catching him off guard. But it tasted somewhat better than having to ingest a strand of All Might's hair, he replied, Toshinori gawking with eyes widened. His classmates all reacted differently, laughing and acting grossed out while some stared at Toshinori. No way. Is that how you got the quirk before? Ashido shouted, oh, nasty. Bakugo began laughing his ass off, clutching his stomach. Mineta looked ready to puke, as did Yuga and Kaminari. That is all kinds of wrong. Why, you didn't taste hairspray or some other greasy stuff, did you? Jiro shouted. Bakugo laughed harder, bracing himself on 𝗧𝗂's shoulder. You damn nerd. Ha ha ha. That's how you got your quirk, huh? I only wish I got a good look at your stupid face, he exclaimed while laughing. Toshinori began waving his hands in a panic as more eyes looked his way. Hey, listen to me. In order to pass one for all to Midoriya, he had to swallow some of my DNA. It wasn't how I would have done it. That's just how it works, he proclaimed. He then saw Aizawa and Present Mic giving him disgusted looks. Is that how you got it too, All Might? Aizawa asked with a brow raised. Don't make me answer that, Aizawa, he exclaimed. As the others continued laughing or retching, Ochaco simply chuckled softly, so she wasn't noticed. But she soon saw 𝗧𝗂 looking her way, quickly looking away and whistling to herself. Maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. Then again, that was nothing compared to the workout he put me through beforehand, he thought, the calm before the storm. As the party continued into the evening, stars beginning to fill up the night sky above, Yaroza began to call everyone's attention by tapping against a glass. May I have everyone's attention? Your class representative and vice president would like to make a proposal. Momo called. Ida followed up by inviting everyone into a group photo to commemorate the night. A group photo? I always feel gypped whenever my picture is taken. No one will see me except for my gloves and boots. Hagakure said. Ojiro lightly chuckled. It's okay, Hagakure. Maybe you should ask Momo if you can borrow a shirt or something, he replied. As they started getting ready, Kirishima looked around confused. Huh? What are you doing, Kirishima? Bakugo asked. Has anyone seen Midoriya or Uraraka? He asked. We can't have the photo without them. Ida paused to think. I believe Uraraka said she had to use the bathroom, so I let her use the one inside. Momo explained. As for Midoriya, I think he had to take a call. Ashido's horns shot straight out as she grew the look of an excited kitten. Ajui happened to notice, catching her attention. Don't even try it. Ribbit, she said, Ashido heavily sighing afterwards. In actuality, 𝗧𝗂 and Ochaco had adjourned to a quiet place in the gardens nearby. They quietly stared up at the starry sky, standing at each other's side. A gentle breeze whisked by them. Inside their heads, they were thinking the exact same. See, come on, 𝗧𝗂. You can do this. Jay, just tell Ochaco how you really feel about her. See, come on, Ochaco. You can do this. Jay, just tell Deku how you really feel about him. 𝗧𝗂 slowly moved his hand towards hers. But just as he was about to touch her, it came to a halt. But Ochaco happened to notice and reached back to hold his, surprising 𝗧𝗂 greatly. Oh, sorry. I wasn't trying to, he shouted. Ochaco silently shook her head. It's okay, Deku. I actually wanted to ask you something, she said, clenching tighter. Will you hear me out? Izuku saw her cheeks beginning to turn red as she turned to him with anxiety on her face. Her eyes were lightly shaking as well. He could tell that she wanted to say something but was worried about harming their friendship. To calm her down, he took both of her hands and gently held them. Would it be okay if I went first? He whispered, making Ochaco gasp. He began blushing as well, fighting with his worries to manage his next sentences. His time speaking with Toshinori and Inko wormed their way into his head, both telling him to just let it out naturally and try not to overthink it. He took a moment to take a deep breath before reaching into the pocket of his jacket, taking out the ring. Seeing it made Ochaco gasp. "Deku?" she muttered, tears beginning to build up as he slowly placed it on her finger. She then looked back to Izuku, the young man also showing signs of tearing up. "Ochaco, this has been something I wanted to say. But I couldn't say it properly before. It's been weighing on me, and now I think I'm ready," he said, Ochaco waiting in anticipation. "Why, yeah, me too," she stuttered, trying to hold back her tears. Izuku lightly gasped but kept his smile as he held her hand. "Ochaco Uraraka, I love you," he continued, the tears finally dripping down her face. "Ever since we first met at the entrance exam, you've always had my back in helping me through my hardest times. I wanted to tell you so badly, but I guess I never even noticed. I was so fixated on bettering myself so I could keep up with everyone." Just then, he felt Ochaco's hand move atop his own, making sure to keep one finger up as to not trigger zero gravity. She said with a sniffle as a 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. "I love you too." Izuku's gaze softened as she held him tightly. "I've been holding back my own emotions for so long. Ever since we were going to train at summer camp, I knew I had a crush on you. But I put those feelings aside, so I could focus on improving myself for the sake of my own goals. I didn't want to be a burden to anyone else either, especially you." She leaned into his chest, letting out sniffles as they held each other's hands. Izuku rested his head against hers. "But after all we've been through, I'm saying it now, because I don't want to lose you," she continued. Izuku softly chuckled. "Looks like we both needed time to mature," Izuku muttered, making Ochaco laugh followed by himself. They then looked each other in the eyes before, started by Ochaco, they leaned in for a gentle but meaningful kiss. Their tense feelings felt like they were being washed away the longer they kissed. They remained fixated on the other as their lips drew apart, still holding each other's hands. If you'd like, maybe we could go on a real date sometime? I've had so many ideas for places we could go. But I want to make sure we both have the time," he continued. "If it's for you, Asuka, I'd gladly make time. I'd like more us time, now that we cleared that hurdle," she chuckled, leaning against him. They then began laughing at the same time as, nearby, Bakugo was leaning against the wall. A large shrub concealed his presence. With arms crossed, he shed a short smile. "About time. You idiot," he thought before leaving. The two managed to return in time to avoid suspicion by their classmates as Momo and Ida set everything up for the group photo. The class rep then invited the photographer over, surprising all with it being Mr. Takuda. In his head, he thought back to the call he received from Momo before the party. An exclusive chance to snap a photo of the students from Class 1A? How could I miss an opportunity like that? Using his quirk whole-body lens, he made sure everyone was in their pose before he snapped multiples and printed them for each of the students. He had also received their permission to print their picture for the newspaper, due partially to the big success of his article of Izuku. For the photo, Ochaco took off and stashed her ring away. They all made the same victory pose as All Might together with Izuku in the center, wearing his battlesuit. A huge surprise was, due to the camera flashes, portions of 𝗧𝗵𝗲 true self were in the photo, making her glad that she asked Yaoyorozu for spare clothes. "Whoa. No way. I never thought we'd see your actual face again, Hagakure." Jiro gasped. "Yeah. But it's definitely worth seeing again," Sato replied, Tokoimi agreeing. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 looked towards Mineta, seeing him eyeing her face in his photo, before she started frantically bonking his head with her invisible hands. As she shouted to stop staring at her, calling him a creep, others began to laugh. Izuku handed Kazuto his copy of the photo, showing that he was caught in it as well as Eri and the present teachers. The next day. When the next day came, Izuku had talked his friends into assisting him in the search for Kazuto's brother, the young boy having fully recovered. Before they separated, they were given his physical description by Kazuto. They were looking for a child about his height with the same white hair but with soft reddish-colored eyes, explaining they were nearly twins. As most of his friends covered the lower streets, Kazuto rode piggyback on Izuku as he hopped across rooftops with the likes of Bakugo, Shoto, and Uraraka following. Tokoyami also took Jiro to the skies on the other side of town, carried by the wings of Dark Shadow, to spread out the search. As Izuku continued moving, memories of earlier that day came back, the heroes being contacted by Officer Tsukachi. I understand how important this is for you to reunite Kazuto and his brother, but I would like to request your eyes in another matter if you'll take it alongside. As you know, Dr. Garaki, All for One's lead scientist, had managed to escape from police custody during the reconstruction of Japan. He has been on the run since and, despite our best efforts, we have yet to locate the madman. It's not likely he has left the country because we've put tabs on all his activity during our manhunt. If you happen to find any clues or catch a sighting of the lunatic, please contact me immediately. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Dr. Garaki, the creator of the 𝗵𝗲. He's capable of cloning quirks and mutating test subjects to fit his mad goals, like what he did with Tamura Shigaraki, he thought. Don't tell me Kazuto's brother is in your hands, you madman, he thought. He received a ring in his ear from an earpiece. Izuku Deku here. Is that you, Charge Bolt? Any sightings? Kaminari groans. Nothing yet, Deku. Just checking back in for a reminder of the kid's profile. Bakugo groaned, using his earpiece to join the call. Kaminari flinched upon hearing his voice yelling back at him. Bakugo, you moron. The kid says he looks just like him. How hard is it to find a kid with white hair? Kaminari, yeah, sure. Whatever you say, dynamite. But you forget how many people live in this city. Momo, this is 𝗂𝐲𝐷. I thought I located the target, but it turns out it was a different child. Jiro, yeah. I'm having no luck either. I tried asking others if anyone knew about Kazuto and his brother beforehand. Izuku, thanks for that, Tailman. We'll keep up our search as well. Meanwhile, as the heroes continued the search above ground, in his hidden lair, Garaki looked on at the slumbering Aku in his chamber. His computer gave him the clearance to unleash the monster, its physicals and mentality stable. He pressed a button on a remote, the pod hissing before it began to open, and the liquid inside pouring out while a sinister grin lined his face. The tubes attached to Aku also released him, causing him to drop to the ground. The doctor laughed eccentrically. It is time. Arise, Aku. Rise so we can begin our destruction of the heroes and their feeble society, he shouted, raising his hand. Aku's eyes flashed open, blood red in color with thin slits for pupils. With a monstrous snarl, he began rising up on his own. Small black flames, similar to Dabi's fire, flickered off him as he rattled his body and whipped around his long white locks. He had a well-built body, a mix between Shigaraki and All for One's bodies while having facial features similar to Shigaraki with pitch-black skin. His mouth were lined with razor-sharp teeth as he looked towards Garaki. They smiled at the sight of each other. At last, Midoriya will know true terror. His days are finished, the doctor muttered. Aku began moving before suddenly stopping, collapsing to his knees and surprising the doctor. Sounds of retching and violent coughing could be heard. What? Aku, what is wrong with you? He exclaimed. The monster continued coughing before, in an explosive let-out, he vomited out the fluids of inside his body as well as a small human figure. The body hitting the ground was a young boy with slobbered-over white hair and raggedy clothing. Aku continued spatting out the rest as the doctor was flabbergasted. Not enough. What are you saying? Aku, you just rejected the host body I built you upon. What do you mean, not enough? Garaki exclaimed, a look of fury on his face. Aku began slowly rising up, grumbling softly. Don't you know? You cannot function to your fullest capabilities without a host to feed off. That's what makes you so special to the other 𝗵𝗲 I've made. What's wrong? He continued. Aku's slits looked towards him and then the child. Not enough hate. Host body worthless. Too weak. Garaki gawked, growling as his hand crushed the remote to his tank. So what? It was the best I could do with the resources I had. You had all the time necessary to become one with this quirkless child. Do what I say and merge back. It's the only way you can fulfill your purpose, the doctor screamed. Aku showed signs of rejection, swatting the boy's unconscious body away. Garaki snarled as veins bulged on his bald head. Listen to me, you moron. I am your master. Your creator, he screamed. I poured all my reserves into creating you so you would slaughter Midoriya, his friends, and the other pro-heroes. You cannot do that if you're fighting incomplete. Now do as I say. Aku's snarling rose in intensity before he casted his gaze towards Garaki, the look of bloodlust leaving the doctor frozen from fear. From his perspective, he felt as if he was staring back at an enraged All-for-One as he trembled with mouth gaped open. In that case, you will suffice, Doctor. You want vengeance? Then let us do it together. The monster quickly lashed out at him, Garaki screaming in genuine fright as he was thrown to the ground, his glasses flung off of him. Aku pinned him down before unleashing a loud, ferocious roar. Nearby, Garaki's glasses laid with large cracks on each lens, origin. Izuku and Ochaco's search for Kazuto's brother brought them to the sandy shores of Tacoma Municipal Beach. Memories of his training with All Might came flowing back to Izuku as he stared on at its white sands and beautiful view of the ocean. To his surprise, near the sidewalk overlooking the shore, stood a large dark green statue of him. Seeing it made Ochaco giggle. I still can't believe they made a statue of you, Deku. They even got your color right, she laughed. Izuku smiled. Well, when the news learned it was my training with All Might that the beach was cleaned, they wanted to erect a statue of me as a way of thanks, he said. If All Might didn't train me, this beach would most likely still be a garbage dump. Kazuto observed the conversation before he felt a sudden jolt come over him, his eyes widening momentarily. Heal me. Hey, did you feel that? He asked. Izuku and Uraraka turned to him. Feel what? She asked. Do you see anything, Kazuto? Izuku asked. Kazuto shook his head. No. But I had the weirdest feeling just run down my spine, he said. He began scanning the sands before the same feeling came again with a similar voice. He quickly turned back to the heroes. I think my brother might be nearby. That has to be the only explanation, he shouted. Ochaco gasped. Are you sure? Izuku asked, kneeling down to his level. The boy nodded. They turned their gaze back towards the beach before, out of the corner of his eye, Izuku noticed a strange lid laying amidst the grains. They rushed over as Izuku picked it up. This looks like a hatch door. But where'd it come from, he muttered, examining it to see the hinges had been torn off. Looking back, the three noticed a peculiar hole. Believing it to be the lead to his brother, Kazuto encouraged the two heroes to help him look. Below the sand. With Kazuto close by, the three descended down in a mechanical elevator that surfaced once Izuku approached. It took them deep below the sands of Tacoma Municipal Beach and straight into the now-abandoned lair of Dr. Garaki, where he and Aku were recently confined to. The sight of his tools, machines, and other notes surprised the two heroes. W.O. Look at this place. How did something this big stay out of the radar of the police, let alone the other pro-heroes? Ochaco exclaimed, her voice echoing. Izuku noticed a pile of torn paper by his feet, looking down to see it was the remnants of the newspapers he shredded out of hate. He saw a shred featuring his smiling face sticking out beneath his boot. No doubt about it, Uravity. This has to be one of Dr. Garaki's secret lairs. But it doesn't look like one of the facilities he used to breed Nomu, he muttered. Kazuto turned to him. And Nomu? What's a Nomu, he asked. They aren't a thing anymore, but Nomu were essentially the remains of deceased people that the man who owns this lab performed experiments on. He reanimated them into monstrous creatures that wielded multiple quirks at the same time and mutated their bodies in the process. He sent them to attack innocent people and to cripple the heroes to further his plans. Izuku explained. Ochaco nodded, saying it was at the command of his former employer, the deceased All-for-One. Kazuto gasped. They were zombies? He exclaimed out of fear. But, like Deku said, they are no longer being made as the doctor doesn't have the means or funding backing him like he previously had. Ochaco added. Just then, Kazuto heard a voice nearby groaning in agony. They all turned to see the unconscious boy from before, the one spat out by Aku. "Be brother," the boy screamed, rushing over to him. Izuku gasped before following close behind while Kazuto crouched down to prompt him up. "Tetsuo! Tetsuo! Wake up! It's me!" "Kazuto," he shouted, shaking his body. He did not respond, however. Izuku looked over Tetsuo's body and noticed the fluid dripping off him. Ochaco approached before looking disgusted, covering her nose because of the fluid's vile smell. "Oh, that reeks. Don't tell me Dr. Garaki was trying to experiment on kids now," she asked. Kazuto put his head to his chest, hearing a heartbeat. He let out a heavy sigh. "He's only asleep." Thank goodness," he muttered with teary eyes. Izuku smiled and patted the boy's head. "I promised you we'd find him. Now that we have, you boys are going to be all right," he said, comforting him. But nearby, Izuku saw a trail of black drippings heading back towards the elevator shaft they just used. He also noticed the main computer was still active and, beneath the table, was the doctor's broken glasses. Ochaco then glimpsed at the opened capsule where Aku was previously. "Deku? I got a bad feeling about this," she said. "I think the doctor must have been working on something new recently." Izuku hurried over and began attempting to open the files left behind on the computer, eyes glued to the screen. He was able to find a recorded video file within a subfolder titled Project Superior Nomu. Bringing it up showed a recording of Dr. Garaki in the dimly lit laboratory, looking squarely at the camera with a serious expression in his eyes. "I have recently found out that my master, 𝗷𝗏, has fallen, and our grand plan to have him merge with Shigaraki, becoming the Demon Lord of Japan, has also flopped. The heroes have, once again, won, much to my total disgust. However, there is one in particular that I will dedicate the rest of my life, if needed, to make sure he dies an agonizing and brutal death. And that is his killer Deku, or should I say Izuku Midoriya." Izuku gasped. "If that boy thinks he can get away with ending the life of the man I hold immense respect for in the name of justice, he is sadly mistaken. So he and his classmates have graduated from UA High and are no longer students. He will die all the same. One for all, if you are hearing my voice from the other side, rest assured that your death will not go unanswered. For that, I have begun work on what I hope will be my crowning jewel among Nomu. But this one, he will not be like the rest. I plan to create an unstoppable demon, not restricted by the limitations of its body, with the sole purpose of killing Izuku Midoriya and the rest of the heroes. May this log of video evidence be proof that evil never rests." The video ended there before Izuku began another one, Ochaco and Kazuto approaching from behind. The unconscious Tetsuo was being carried in Ochaco's arms. The new video showed Garaki looking on at the beginnings of Aku forming in his pod before looking towards the camera. "It has been about a year since I began this project, and things appear stable for the time being. The specimen has been quiet for a while now, only active when it senses the feeling of hate coming from other organisms. That will be what fuels its destructive rampage. Luckily for me, the remains of what I granted to that fool Shigaraki will be of vital use for the specimen's growth." Izuku forwarded the video a bit, skipping over more self-monologuing. "A long time ago, I was fortunate enough for 𝗷𝗏 to bless me with a sample of his primal DNA. From it, I extracted and fostered a seed of pure hate from it. While I do not know of its origins, I will assume it was a result of the Master's overwhelming hatred for All Might, the man responsible for seriously crippling him. After I learned of his demise, I began funneling similar seeds of hate I created from DNA samples of the League of Villain members into its construction. Along with what can only be described as the physical embodiment of evil, I am planning to introduce the specimen to other quirks I previously had planned for future Nomu. Ha ha ha. As if the quirks of Shigaraki and his cohorts weren't enough, I do this to assure Izuku Midoriya has no chance of winning." Izuku and Ochaco gasped. "The hatred extracted from the League of Villains," she muttered, eyes widened. She thought back to her battle with Himiko Toga as well as their previous encounters with the League's members, ending on when the misunderstood Toga gave her life so she could live and donated her blood. Izuku lightly growled, clenching his fists. "Garaki, what were you thinking? Is that how you plan to remember Shigaraki and the others all for one used for his own purposes? He thought. Just then, there was a most recent video recording that he brought up. Though it was short, the contents had Izuku shielding Kazuto's eyes because of the levels of violence. All that was recorded was the screams of Dr. Garaki as Aku, now freed and having rejected Tetsuo, consumed the doctor entirely and fused his body into his own. Aku let out a deep growl before undergoing a freakish mutation, growing larger after absorbing Garaki. He then looked towards the camera and roared loudly, damaging the devices enough to cut out. The sight left both heroes utterly horrified. It killed him? Ochaco whispered softly, covering her mouth. That must be what escaped from the hatch before. He must be loose in this city right now. Izuku thought, backing away slowly. He quickly tried to send a warning over his earpiece, but he only heard static. Guys, are you there? He shouted drat. Dr. Garaki must have something jamming our comms. 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏, take the kids and get them somewhere safe. I'll meet you in the city later. Before Ochaco could say a word, he made a break for the shaft leading above and, using boosters in his boots, wall jumped his way up. Ochaco groaned. Don't do anything reckless, Izuku muttered. 𝐒𝐭𝐴𝐻 Ward, All Might statue. Izuku rushed out and towards the city, using the rising smoke in the distance as a beacon to find Aku. His earpiece began to ring as he leapt across buildings. Bakugo, about time you answered, you dumbass. Izuku, dynamite. We found a secret lab under Takoba Beach belonging to Dr. Garaki. Something escaped from there and is most likely running rampant in the city. Bakugo, what? That damn doctor is behind this. TCH. Either way, you're late reporting in. Izuku, I'm sorry. He had some kind of jamming device in place, so I couldn't call from inside. I'm on my way over. But just as he hung up with Bakugo, his earpiece rang again. Ojiro, Deku. There's this big black monstrosity attacking civilians close to UA High. I'm here with Red Riot, Grape and Cellophane trying to contain him. Izuku, what? I just got word that Dynamite was fighting him. I'm seeing smoke rising from 𝗵𝗏 Ward. Ojiro, are you kidding me? Does this thing have some kind of duplication quirk then? Izuku. Maybe. It's one of Dr. Garaki's mutants. Watch out. More and more calls kept coming in from his friends, all saying they were engaging Aku at different locals around the city. He also received word that other pro-heroes were hurrying to help. Izuku then made a call to Officer 𝗧𝗏𝗁. Izuku, Officer 𝗧𝗏𝗁. Do you copy? It's Deku. 𝗧𝗏𝗁, I'm here, Midoriya. Are you calling about the black monster running rampant? Izuku, yeah. A little while ago, I was patrolling with 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗧, and we found a secret laboratory that Dr. Garaki was using to make this thing. But we found video proof that it turned on and killed his creator before breaking out. 𝗧𝗏𝗁, what? Garaki is dead. Izuku, as for his final creation, it's called Aku and was made using hatred fostered from the League of Villains and All for One. He also armed it with whatever cloned quirks he had made, all for the purpose of killing me. 𝗧𝗏𝗁, most likely because you were the reason All for One perished. Alright. I'll send anyone I can your way and make sure they're informed. What's your location? Izuku nearing 𝗵𝗏 Ward. Dynamite is there too. He abruptly hung up as he stopped on a rooftop overlooking Ground Zero, the site of All Might's statue following his battle with All for One. In no time, he found Bakugo aiming his gauntlet at Aku, jumping down to his friend's side. Bakugo flashed a glance his way as the monster eyed him. Aku had grown to about the same size as All for One's adult self and had the muscles to match. His white hair grew even longer, the ends colored blood red. The monster was hunched over, walking on its knuckles like a gorilla. So, anything you'd like to report, Deku? He asked, armed and ready. It's a Nomu with about as many quirks as All for One, built for the purpose of killing. Izuku replied, he also killed Dr. Garaki after being awakened. Bakugo looked back shocked. What? The damn freak killed the doc, he shouted. Realizing the new person before him was Deku, the doctor's sole focus, Aku grew a large grin across his face as black ooze leaked out the gaps between his sharp teeth. A look of insanity bore daggers towards the hero. However, Izuku heard another voice call out to him. What the? Where'd you come from, kid? The voice yelled. Izuku looked and saw Atsuhiro and Shuichi ready to go, the reptile man armed with a katana. Keikaken. Why are they here? He asked. Bakugo groaned before explaining he found them engaging with Aku before he came to intercept him. Their fighting caused the civilians to flee in no time. The heroes turned their gaze back to Aku as he began to laugh in a deep, menacing beast slowly adjusted its body as to stand upright, laugh becoming unhinged as his sadistic gaze focused solely on Izuku. So you're Deku. Aku said in a distorted voice, head cocked to the side, you didn't waste your time finding me, hero. Izuku's gaze narrowed, assuming battle stance as more black fluid secreted from Aku's gums.